guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel, and we go to the final part of Predictions Week. When I say that though, League 2, the National League and the National League South, unfortunately I have had no time to do this week and last week, so I am going to post some YouTube shorts on them when I do, but another day I will be posting those. But in the meantime, it's the final one of these 3 videos. We started with League 1, then we went on to the Championship, and now we finally finish with my predictions for the Premier League for 2023-24. As Burnley Manchester City kicks off tonight at Turf Moor. So here we go then, 20 teams and only one can be the champion.
Running, running, no, running, running, no, keep running.
20th, Everton. Now this is the year I finally feel they are finally going to go down. After scraping survival the season before, fans are getting low, the goal tally's getting lower, and whisper it, they give up more goals and chances under Sean Dyche of all people. I think there's a lot of troubling going on at the club. It reminds me of Aston Villa when they got relegated in 2016, Sunderland when they finally got relegated in 2017 after a lot of seasons battling the drop. This season I finally think it will be their turn, and for the first time in God knows how many years, I think this will be the year Everton finally get relegated to the Championship. And I tell you what, everything at the club I feel is going to be really low, from not just this season but maybe even the season after. Everything at the club is grim at the moment, the mood, everything. I just feel like this could be Everton's worst season in a long while, and I think it will finally be the time that they go down. Last season was 1 goal away from a complete nightmare. This time I think they will get the complete nightmare, so there we are, I'm going for it. I think Everton's going to finish bottom this season. 19th, Sheffield United. Out of the 3 clubs that got promoted, I feel like the Blades are going to go straight back down personally. A squad that needs upgrades but lacking the funds to sign them points squarely to an undignified scrap at the bottom. And I feel like that new boss Paul Heckingbottom is expected to rely on mostly loans and free transfers this season. Well, when I say new boss, he's a new boss in the Premier League. But I just feel like with who I have ahead of them, I just feel like they're going to miss out on surviving. They've also lost key player Sander Berg to Burnley, which I think is a huge blow for them. I think the Blades are going straight back down personally, and I think it's going to be a very hard season for the men from Bramall Lane. 18th, Wolves. Now this prediction pains me, especially that my brother is a Wolves fan himself. So this is a club I really didn't want to predict to go down. But I just feel like this summer has been a disaster for the men from Molineux. Lopetegui has left the club by mutual consent. Ruben Neves is gone. Raul Jimenez is gone. João Moutinho is gone. Diego Costa is gone. Adama Traore is gone. Connor Cody is gone. I just feel like this summer has been an absolute disaster for Wolverhampton Wanderers. The positive factor is re-signing club legend Matt Doherty from Atletico Madrid on a free transfer, but you never know, they could prove me wrong. They've still got Pedro Neto and Daniel Penzance and Hwang Hee-Chang, as well as others such as Craig Dawson. I just feel like this summer has been a disaster for Wolves. Their goalkeeper, Jose Sarr, I still highly rate loads, but I just feel like this is going to be a really difficult season for them. And last season ended, it ended brilliantly, but it's still an overall disappointing season because, of course, Bruno Lage got sacked. But that squad is worrying me a bit, and they do produce a lack of goals as well. I think it's going to be a long-ass battle between Wolves and the clubs I have in 17th, 16th and 15th on that last spot for relegation. I just feel like after how many seasons have Wolves been in the Premier League now? So 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. After 5 seasons in the Premier League, this being their 6th, I just feel like this will finally be the year they go back down. And it'd be a huge shame because I really like Wolves as a club. But I just feel like it's not going to be enough for them. I hope they prove me wrong though. Wolves to finish 18th. 17th, Crystal Palace. I think Palace and Wolves are going to be in a long-ass battle for the drop, but I think Palace is going to be the ones to just prevail in what is, I believe, their 11th season now in the Premier League. Roy Hodgson knows how to beat the drop as well. I feel like losing Wilfried Zaha and Luka Milivojevic is a big blow for them, but they have got talent elsewhere, like Eberici Eze, for example, and Michael Elise, unless he goes to Chelsea. Jefferson Lerma, they've just signed from Bournemouth, but I feel like the focus for the Eagles is on a young London-based talent, and I think it's going to give them a bit of a bright future, but I think losing Zaha is a big blow. Losing Milivojevic is a big blow, but I think they're just going to do enough to stay up for another season. I feel like 24-25 for me is going to be the question whether Crystal Palace will be in the Premier League again. I'm just not sure if Roy Hodgson will end up being the right man for the job because I know he's announced his retirement a few years ago as well, but he knows how to stay in the Premier League himself anyway. So yeah, I think they're just going to do enough. I've got Palace 17th. 16th, Luton. They will fight, shock a few teams, and maybe pin this up in the dressing room, but survival would be an absolute amazing feat. I will tell you that now. Honestly, I just don't get why so many people are writing them off, to be honest. Look at Huddersfield in 2017-18. Proved everybody wrong. Bournemouth 2015-16. Proved everybody wrong. And yet everyone predicted them to go down. Blackpool, 2010-11. Oh, wait, hang on. Blackpool did go down in that one. Anyway, but that doesn't matter, though. I just feel like Luton are going to exactly remind me of Huddersfield when they came up in 2017-18. The huge favourites to go down, but I just feel like a new team in the Premier League, their first ever season in the Premier League. I feel like Rob Edwards is going to surprise a lot of teams this season. They may have signed Mads Anderson from Barnsley, Ogbean from Rotherham, Thomas Kaminski from Blackburn, Ross Barkley as a free agent. But with their first season there, I just feel like they're going to surprise a lot of teams. And I feel like that a lot of clubs are going to underestimate how they play, how they work, how they go into each match against Luton going, oh, we'll easily beat them because they're such a small club. That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse at all. Luton, I feel, are going to surprise a lot of people. And just like Palace, I think Luton's main worry is going to be the following season. But I really hope they survive just to prove absolutely everybody wrong. And you know what? It'd be a brilliant season for them if they did as well. I'm going to back them to stay up because I think there's 3 worse teams than them right now, especially. So yeah, I am going to say Luton 16th. 15th, Nottingham Forest. Forest, again, I think they'll do just enough. I've actually been very impressed with some of their transfer window as well, signing Anthony Elanga from Manchester United, for example. Ola Aina's come into the club as well, as has Chris Wood from Newcastle. The downside may be losing some of their players, like Jesse Lingard, for example. He's one of them that's departed this summer. But again, I think they'll do just enough, and I think they'll basically build on what they did last season. And I think they'll comfortably survive at the end. I don't see them getting top half at all, but again, I think they'll do just enough to survive, and I think Forest will finish 15th. Steve Cooper did unite a huge squad as well, and even despite the alarming away days, but it's hard to see progress until things are calmer, but I think they will be absolutely fine. I think there's 5 worse teams than them, and I think the squad will stay United and they'll comfortably survive at the end. 14th, Brentford. Following last season's remarkable top 10 finish, you'd think the plan would be a simple, more of the same, lads, but with Ivan Toney banned until January, Thomas Frank must find some way of maintaining the Bees' potency without his leading scorer. Will they miss him? No more than they miss Ericsson or Griffin Park possibly, but gravity does pull, especially without David Raya. The problem may actually be up in goal, with David Raya's exit expected for months. I think the Bees are in for a tougher season though, this time. I still highly rate the majority of their squad, as last season proved, of course. They had a great season last season. Ivan Toney's banned until January, so they must find new ways to stay consistent. But I think with other teams I have ahead of them, I don't think that's going to slightly be the case. So I do see Brentford dropping down a little bit, but again, comfortably in the Premier League for yet another season. 14th for the Bees. 13th, Bournemouth. Ruthless ambition saw Bournemouth spend 55 million in January, then upgrade a solid gaffer. Andoni Iraola comes highly rated. His Rayo side beat Barcelona and Real Madrid last season in La Liga. Gary O'Neill may be a blow, because he was the reason why they stayed up at the end. But honestly, just like Luton, I genuinely think Bournemouth's going to surprise a lot of clubs again this season, and I think they're going to be absolutely fine at the end. Honestly, I think they're going to be fine. They're well run as well, in my honest opinion. So I don't see them being near the drop at all, to be honest. So yeah. Signings include Justin Kluivert from Roma, Alex Scott from Bristol City, which has now been officially confirmed. That's a pain for my championship predictions, because I've backed Bristol City to get playoffs, but now they've just signed Alex Scott. They literally signed him yesterday, so fair play to them on that one. Max Aarons has joined from Norwich. It's so funny how all this I mentioned in my predictions, and then all this saga happens. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. Losing Mark Travers to Stoke might be a bit of a blow, and Lerma to Palace, but I genuinely think Andone will steady the ship at the Cherries, and I genuinely see them finishing mid-table. 13th for Bournemouth. 12th, West Ham. Replacing Rice is everything, but with the momentum and better finishing, they can improve with or without Moyes, but I just see them being mid-table for yet another season. I don't know if Moyes is going to end up being the right person for this season. They might end up hiring a new coach, but I'm unsure. I think if they have another terrible start to the season, he could be out the exit door despite winning the Conference League. But they have signed James Ward-Prowse, to be fair, from Southampton. But I'm just not sure if I can see them improving one bit. So, and I just feel like the Hammers are going to finish in a bog standard mid-table finish with the competition I have in front of them as well. So yeah, I'm going with 12th for West Ham. 11th, Burnley. I think the Clarets are going to be well up for this season, personally. I think Vincent Kompany's going to be well up for this season as well. A new season, a new era for the Clarets after the way they tore the Championship apart last season. And in the image of its creator, I think Kompany's football is stylish, but not without grit. I think Burnley should take an unsuspecting league by surprise, even if its bloated middle might bar entry to the top half. Honestly, some of that squad I saw in that 2018 team under Sean Dyche when they came 7th. Nathan Redmond's joined the club, Sander Berger's joined the club from Sheffield United, which I think is a big signing. I think they're going to surprise loads this season, honestly. And I think Vincent Kompany, now being back in the Premier League, 10 years off from when he won the Premier League with City in 2014 and then again in 2018 and 19, I really think he's going to be well up for this season. And I genuinely see Burnley surprising a few, honestly. Now, I see them finishing mid-table. 10th, Brighton. I think points may be dropped as a genuinely good footballing side attacks Europe with gusto. They could go far in Europe, to be honest, in the Europa League. And obviously, I highly rate their coach, Roberto De Zerbi. He's freaking phenomenal. Some transfer sagos have been going on, though, such as Alexis McAllister off to Liverpool. I think their form in Europe is going to affect them in the Premier League this season, but they're a quality side, and I still see them finishing in the top half of this season. And if there's only one club with a plan to deal with the impact of Europe, I feel like it's going to be Brighton. Yeah, a solid top 10, I reckon, for the Seagulls. Everything around that club's going very well at the moment. 9th, Aston Villa. With Unai Emery improving his players, Villa can challenge for a place in his beloved Europa League, by league or by cup. But with competition I had ahead of them, I think Villa are going to drop off a little bit from their 7th place last season, but they definitely have the capabilities to finish higher. I also think Villa will finish 9th because, I'm going to say this now, I'm predicting the club to win the Conference League this season. So either way, I think they will get Europa League football next season. Regardless, I think signing Yuri Tillemans is a brilliant signing, first of all. And Unai Emery knows how to finish in that top half very well as well. And I feel like they're building a team right now to challenge for Europe once again. I mean, they already are in Europe, of course, but the same team that challenged when Martin O'Neill was back in charge. But I think they're going to finish 9th because of competition elsewhere. I think there's going to be other surprises to be seen. But I do think they're going to win the Conference League regardless. So either way, I do think Aston Villa is going to get Europa League football next season. But in the league, I think they're going to drop off slightly by 2 positions. But still, a fairly solid season for them, I'd say. 8th, Fulham. Fulham, it's official. Fulham are my dark horses for this season. I thought Marco Silva produced a fantastic side from last season, better than any Fulham fan could have expected. A top 10 spot, FA Cup quarter-finals. If they keep Aleksandar Mitrovic up front, I think they could even finish higher, to be honest. A drop-off might seem inevitable, but I know there's been links of both Aleksandar Mitrovic and Willian both moving to the Saudi League. But there's also been links of Aleksandar Mitrovic moving to Tottenham to replace the departing Harry Kane up front. But either way, I feel like Marco Silva, just like with Aston Villa, I feel like Marco Silva is building something at Fulham, personally. Guttingly for them, I think they are just going to miss out on Conference League. Due to that, I think the top 7 I have are going to be slightly stronger. But I feel like they're going to put in another brilliant season. And a bit like Brentford last season, I see Fulham improving for a 2nd season running. And I feel like they'll take 8th place either way. So yeah, I'm going to predict 8th for Fulham. Fulham are my dark horses for this season. 7th, Tottenham. The big talking point is Harry Kane. After becoming the club's highest goal scorer, Harry Kane is finally departing to join Bayern Munich. If their new manager has the players' buy-in, he can make Spurs smarter, meaner and better. But he may not be given time, as we all know what Daniel Levy's like. Last season for Spurs was cowardly, pathetic and predictable. They could be signing Mitrovic to replace Kane. James Maddison's already signed for the club after Leicester got relegated. It'll be interesting to see how the club get on this season. Well, not really that interesting because I don't like them. But I just don't see Tottenham being as strong as the top 6 I have. But if Heung-min Son can get back to goal-scoring ways and not have the total disastrous season that he had last season, then they might not need to worry about losing Harry Kane. And obviously, Heung-min Son has proved that he's a club legend for the club as well. And he's on his day, he's the best striker in the league. But I don't see Tottenham finishing higher than the top 6 I have. So I feel like they're going to finish 7th, and another very predictable season for the North London club. 6th, Manchester United. Takeover distractions are very over the radar at the club at the moment. They could actually finish higher and be Man City's chief challengers if progress under Erik ten Hag continues. But I don't see that happening. I know what the club is like. They'll have a progressing season to then have a terrible season. Bruno Fernandes is their new captain. I don't know how that's going to pan out, but it could actually end up being the best decision the club's made. But I don't know. Marcus Rashford, I think, is going to be one of the players of the season, though, once again, regardless. I just feel like United's going to drop off slightly. But also, I think, I'm going to put this out there now, just like with Aston Villa with the Conference League, I am going to predict Manchester United to win the Champions League this season. I think Erik ten Hag is going to want revenge for what happened with his Ajax side in 2019. And that's also why I don't see United challenging for the top four or even for the title. Because I just think the top four I have are going to be really strong this season, personally. They did have a decent pre-season, though. They did beat Arsenal in pre-season, obviously. But I just don't... I see their league form dipping slightly. But I do think they'll win the Champions League. So either way, I do think the Red Devils are going to get Champions League regardless for the following season. So, I genuinely see them challenging for Europe. Call me deluded, but if you want, but I genuinely see them challenging. But in terms of the league, I just think that the five I have ahead are going to improve. Obviously, with Chelsea being my favourite Premier League team, I hope Mason Mount absolutely flops at the club, the Judas himself. But Manchester United, I think, are going to drop off slightly compared to the other competition I have ahead of them. So I am going to predict the Red Devils to have a same old season where they don't do as well and finish in 6th place. Some of their fans will turn on the Glazers like they normally do. But I do think they'll win the Champions League, and I think it will make up for a disappointing season. And I knew one of these top teams I had to predict going to struggle compared to the others, and that team ended up being United. And that's only because I see Liverpool doing better, Arsenal doing better, and Newcastle comfortably being in the top 4. 5th, Chelsea. This was a really tricky one for me, actually, because, again, like Argyle in the Championship, Chelsea are the big if for the Premier League this season. Either getting rid of the Deadwoods from last season is going to be the best decision ever, and Mauricio Pochettino will go back to what he was remembered for at Tottenham and produce a solid season for the club after what was total disaster last year, or he's not going to be the right man and Todd Bowley's still going to be the same old terrible owner that he was from last season by getting rid of Thomas Tuchel really early. If things go particularly well, I see Chelsea improving a lot from last season. I'll tell you what, pre-season has given me confidence for Chelsea this season, personally. So there is that as well. I think getting rid of the Deadwoods that really underperformed last season is the best decision the club's made. Apart from Mateo Kovacic going to Man City, which I think is a blow. I think Kovacic going is a big blow, and that's gutting in my honest opinion, personally. So I think it will be a better season, and I've already said all summer, it'll be a brilliant season if Chelsea get top 4, considering Chelsea finished 12th place last season. So I don't care if Chelsea don't win the Premier League this season, but I will care if Chelsea do a lot better than last season before. That's all that matters to me. So I'm just praying that Mauricio Pochettino ends up being the right man for the job and improves the club hugely. I just don't see Chelsea getting in the top 4 with the top 4 that I have, who I do see improving this season. So, yeah, I am going to go with 5th for Chelsea. So, returning to the Europa League for 24-25, but considering Chelsea finished 12th the season before, I'll happily take it. Also, the team is building around Enzo Fernandez this season. So I'm hoping him and Poch have a clear relationship, a good relationship, and see where the club goes from there. But I am going to optimistically go for the 5th for the Blues. Unfortunately for Chelsea though, Christopher Nkunku, their new signing, is out for injury for nearly the entire first half of the season, which I think is a huge blow. But nevertheless, when he comes back in January, I think he will put in a shift of a season to bring Chelsea where they want to be after last season's disaster. 4th, Newcastle. World domination. Eddie Howe is, for me, the manager of the season last season. Sensible ambition. And honestly, I think the team are improving year after year after year. Maybe losing Alan Saint-Maximin after all these years of brilliance he's had at the Magpies is a big blow. Now that they've got Champions League football, this season could be more challenging for the two. But I just genuinely see them having another solid season personally. I think they're getting better and better each year. And I see progression in the club. I see them going far in the Champions League. I don't see them winning it, but I do see them going far. And I genuinely just see them having another top 4 finish. And I only have them 4th because I think the other 3 are going to do better. But the top 4 I have, I think, are going to be the top 4 for this season and the ones battling for the league. But if I was a Newcastle fan, I would happily take 4th place for a second season running. And I do see it happening, honestly. I think they'll just miss out on the league. They'll just miss out on the Champions League. But I think they'll finish in a solid 4th place. 3rd, Manchester City. A bit of a bold prediction, this one, considering they are basically the best team in the world right now. They look unstoppable. If the refresh stalls, motivation dims, and Haaland is hit by a bus, they might finish 2nd or maybe lower, but no one has won that Premier League 4 times in a row. No one. Absolutely no one. Man United have also done 3 in a row from 2007 to 2009. But how do you improve on perfection, honestly? It's obviously no surprise they are the favourites for the league, and every reason why. They are the best team in the world right now. But they are due of a terrible season some point soon. When I say terrible, disappointing more like. But they're obviously going to be up there. I mean, look at the team they have regardless. I mean, despite the fact they have sold Ilkay Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. And I think that could be a bit of a blow for them. But honestly, I think they're going to slightly miss out on the title. I just don't see them doing 4 in a row. I don't see any Premier League team doing it 4 in a row. And I think someone is due to win the league that isn't Manchester City some point soon. But who knows? Records can be broken. But I knew I was going to go with a bold prediction somewhere. But obviously they're going to be in the title race regardless. 2nd, Liverpool. Just missing out on the Premier League, I think, and for another season running. Salah is staying at the club. Jurgen Klopp is obviously staying at the club. Last season was basically a failure for the Reds, basically, if you want to put it that way. Henderson and Fabinho may have gone. In comes Alexis McAllister and possibly Caicedo. But that's still to be confirmed, of course. Firmino may have gone as well. But I feel like after the disaster of last season for Liverpool, I feel like the Reds are going to return to the top 4 and get absolute revenge from what was the total disaster of last season. Pre-season may not have been the greatest for Liverpool, but we all know what Jurgen Klopp's mentality is like, and I feel like they are going to absolutely give it a right go after what was last season's horror show by missing out on the Champions League for the first time since 2016. I think they'll finish runners-up. I do think they'll finish runners-up. I don't think they'll have enough to win the league, but I do think they'll be right up there. Cody Gakpo could be one to watch. Luis Diaz could be one to watch. I think they'll be right up there again this season, but I think they're just going to miss out on both the Premier League and the Europa League. So a trophyless season for Liverpool, but a much better season than what we saw last season. First, and my champions for this season, Arsenal. They have to. They surely have to this season after what was the biggest bottling season I think I might have ever seen last season. They should have won it last season. They absolutely blew it. I've never seen anything like it from a club like Arsenal. Honestly, Mikel Arteta simply has to deliver this season. They've captured Declan Rice from West Ham. They have to do it this season, surely. If they don't do it this season or have anywhere lower than second this season, I think this season is an absolute failure for the Gunners. A first Champions League campaign in 7 years could steal focus from title aspirations, but again, like they normally have been doing in the Champions League when they were last there, I do think Arsenal will get knocked out of the UCL very early, personally. Either in the quarterfinals or the round of 16, when I say that. But they have to surely win the league this season. Please remember that when those bottling accusations may come calling in May, but look at what Jurgen Klopp did at Liverpool when he narrowly missed out on the league in 2019 to then go on and do one better the following year. This surely has to be Arsenal's year this year. It's a bit of a bold prediction, I know, because we all know what Arsenal's like at absolutely blowing leagues and bottling the leagues and becoming the biggest bantering club on the planet. No, it has to surely be their season this season. I mean, like, if you're going to sign Declan Rice for that much money, and outbid Manchester City of all clubs as well, it surely has to be their season this season. So yeah, I am going to go for it. I am going to back Arsenal to win their first title since 2004 and finally go a position better and win the league for the first time in 20 years. So who knows what will happen, but if you're in Mikel Arteta's shoes, this has to surely be their year. So I don't know what's going on with all that, but yeah, I am going to back Arsenal to win the league. But I do think they'll have a horror show of a Champions League showing, especially if they face Bayern Munich and they end up getting knocked out by Bayern Munich immediately and that goal scorer ends up being Harry Kane. So there we are. There we have it. That is my Premier League predictions for this season. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this one. Cheers for listening, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
When they pull on the green, they're all Janners. Janners!